Pete Moore, and welcome to Mart TV. Okay, for a lot of hunters, going to Africa is the dream. And you can split that sort of hunting into two, should we say, subspecies of animal. Plains game, which is mainly the big antelopes, things like that, or dangerous game. I went in 2005 and I took my 270 WSM, which is a short Magnum, in my Model 70 Winchester, and the animals I shot all fell to the 270. Cracking cartridge, pushing on, 140 grain load, it really drops them. And I was happy to take it up to bigger antelopes if I'd had the opportunity. Step over that line and you're in what they call dangerous game territory. Elephant, hippo, rhino, buffalo. I would not want to shoot a rhino, hippo or an elephant. Just something about it. I certainly wouldn't want to shoot a lion or any big cats. Something about it just doesn't appeal. It sounds a bit hypocritical, but I'd happily want to go and shoot a buffalo. And entry level, when you speak to African PHs, is the 375 H&H Magnum. It was a cartridge round about the turn of the 19th, 20th century, and it's a belted Magnum, as we shall see, but that is a 375 Holland & Holland. It's a big long cartridge, and it fires bullets from about sort of 270 grain up to 300 grain, maybe a bit more, and generates a fair bit of energy. Now, you could go and buy a proper M98 sporting Mauser in any of those calibers, but other companies make big game rifles, all sort of loosely based around the Mauser and that sort of gun, at much better prices. This is the Ruger Hawkeye African. A gun like this, which is dangerous game, and it's reasonably close. So I've never shot a buff. In fact, I don't think I ever will now, because A, I haven't got the money, and B, I'm getting a little bit past it. But again, rule of thumb is that if you're going to go after this sort of thing, you need a low power scope, and what you need is a rifle with iron sights as well. Because I've spoken to people who shot buffalo, it's 50 yards, 60 yards, 100 yards, and though I don't know the beast at all, the understanding is that they can be quite, should we say, short-tempered. And if, for instance, for any reason you bang your scope or something happens, QD mounts, you can take your scope off and you've got a nice set of big fat iron sights, which are good enough up to 100 yards if you have to. The most interesting about this is that Ruger, in company with Hornaday, decided they wanted to reinvent the 375 H&H, and Hornaday came up in conjunction with Ruger with the 375 Ruger, which when compared to the 375 is very different, and as we shall see, it generates a lot more energy and a lot more velocity, which I think in a gun like this, for the quarry that you'll be thinking about, is ideal. Obviously it's not exactly recoil friendly, but I found it better behaved than the 375 and also more accurate. And here we have in the middle the classic 375 H&H Magnum, on the right the Ruger 375, and on the left, for a bit of perspective, a 6.5 Creedmoor. The 375 is a longer long action, but the 375 Ruger uses a standard long action, so it makes manufacture easy. The H&H on the left is what's known as a belted Magnum. If you look very close where the rim is, you can see that there's the cannelure for the extractor, and in front of it is what they call a belt, which the round headspace is on, and the Ruger on the right has a standard rimless build. Also, it's a standard bottleneck case, whereas the 375 H&H is a tapered case with a very vestigial shoulder, where the shoulder on the Ruger is a lot more pronounced. These days, ammunition technology and design allows you to have what is in fact here a slightly shorter cartridge that produces a lot more performance. Both of these ammunitions are from Hornaday. I'd like to thank them very much for the kind donation of the cartridges. So the 375 in the 300 grain load is producing 2,530 feet per second and a not unimpressive 4,300 foot-pounds of energy. The Ruger is 2,660 feet per second and 4,752 foot-pounds of energy. So as you can clearly see, it aces this particular load by 1,300 feet per second and 452 foot-pounds, which is very impressive. However, this is done at the expense of felt recoil, and none of these big game rifles are particularly pleasant to shoot. They're not bad, but I've shot 4.58, I've shot Lot, I've shot 4.16 Rigby, and I find the 375, which is, if you could argue, the baby of the group, which it certainly isn't, but in terms of actual size, is by far the most pleasant, but it's still quite a kicky rifle. So the M77 series is well known, and nothing has really changed on this African model. It's based on the M98 Mauser, twin lug bolt, exterior extractor, push feed system. Ruger have added their own 3-position safety catch. That's fire. Middle is safe with bolt operation. Rear is safe, bolt locked. Scope mounting is accomplished by Ruger's dedicated mounting cutouts in the receiver bridges, and the guns will come with a set of rings to suit. You can get to 1 inch and 30mm, and you can get to low, high and medium height. With iron sights on a rifle like this, which I believe are essential, they need to be big and they need to be bold, and these are. There's the rear there. It's got a very flat, wide V with a white line-up stripe, which does help in situations. And up front, again, you have a tall base with a blade on it with a white tip, which again comes up and lines up very nicely. The stock is a standard sporting style, made of walnut, nice bit of classic checkering, low comb. I have had an extra thick recoil pad fitted, and also when I first shot this gun, because of the recoil it generated, I have a recoil reducer, and it does reduce the recoil considerably. But that is pretty much it. Capacity wise, you get 3 in the magazine, 1 spout, and that is more than enough. There's a lot of foot-pounds there, a lot of it. It's a floor plate system, so you can dump it out, and if you need to, if it all goes wrong, you expend 4 rounds and nothing's happened, you can just pluck another round from your belt and throw it in the gun when the action opens, and it'll feed and chamber nicely. At the back is an eagle butt bag, which is just something I have on most of my guns. You've got a zip-sided pouch to put bits and pieces of ammo in, and you've got a padded comb, which is nice, and just takes the sting out of the recoil a little bit more, and also raises the head a bit if you need to. Obviously, most people opt for a glass, and I certainly have. This is an old Leopold VX7 1.5 to 6x24 with a big fat dual-X reticle, flip-up lens covers. It's fitted in a set of worn mounts that are made particularly for the Ruger M77 series with their different height receiver bridges. These levers lock it on good and tight, and if you need to take it off, it's just a matter of knocking those levers back and pulling the scope off. I quite like low power scopes. They're good. They're better than iron sights in most situations, but as I said before, if you do need irons, then the Africans got them, and I don't think I'd want to use this rifle without the extra insurance of iron sights. Nothing on the 375 H&H at all, but I think the 375 Ruger, with its extra energy for what is not a massive amount of extra recoil, is probably the way to go. So let's take it outside and fire a few rounds through it.